All right, let's jump into a deep dive on something pretty cool, a community partnership program called Friday Sports. And get this, they went all in on tennis with the Hot Shots program from Tennis Australia,
Hmm.
one for kids, modified rackets, special balls, all that. But the interesting thing is how it all connects to training new teachers.
Right. Yeah. Our main source is a chapter from a book. It's called The Future of Health, Well-Being, and Physical Education. It's an academic book. It looks at a program called Friday Sports, and it partnered up with a university to give student teachers, pre-service teachers, real experience. They connected them with local primary schools to offer great PE lessons for the kids.
So they set these future teachers up to lead tennis with little kids. Sounds pretty cool. What's the story here?
Well, this chapter, it focuses on the second year of the program, back in 2014. The year before, they had tried offering different modified sports.
Yeah.
But this time, they decided to focus just on tennis, using Hot Shots.
Makes sense. Too many choices can be a lot for kids. And Hot Shots is already set up to be kid-friendly. What made them choose Hot Shots?
Yeah. It's all about making tennis fun and easy for them to learn, you know? Smaller rackets, softer balls. They even changed the courts to fit their size and skill. It helps them learn the basics and have fun, most importantly, I think.
I like that. Set them up for success.
Yeah.
So how did this Friday Sports and Hot Shots partnership happen? It's not like these big programs just appear.
This is where the leader of the program really made things happen. They went to a Tennis Australia conference and gave a presentation on why tennis is so important for primary schools.
Wow!
Yeah.
They saw a chance and took it. What happened then?
It was huge. It really got things going. They formed a strong partnership with Tennis Australia, who then gave a lot of the equipment for the program.
So the university's in, Tennis Australia's in. Who else joined?
It was a real community effort. The original university merged with Federation University, who also got involved. A local tennis club let them use their courts, and even a nearby leisure center, they helped out too, by offering their facilities.
A great support network. It sounds like everything was perfect. But I'm sure there were some hiccups. Working with schools and kids can't be easy. What kind of obstacles did they face?
Oh yeah, it wasn't all easy. Some schools had to drop out,
Right.
mostly because of money and scheduling issues.
Yeah. Those are pretty common problems, especially when you're working with tight school budgets. What did the program leader do about it?
They had to think on their feet. They made it work. With fewer schools, it probably took a lot of flexibility and creative thinking to make it work.
You can say that again. I bet those future teachers learned some important lessons about adaptability, something they'll need in their classrooms.
Absolutely. Dealing with the unexpected is a big part of being a teacher. This was a great way for them to learn how to handle that. But before we go any further, let's look at what a typical Friday sports session looked like. You can really see the partnership between those pre-service teachers and the kids.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me all about these tennis sessions. How did they work?
All right, picture this. Groups of 4 pre-service teachers, each working with about 10 kids. They'd meet on Fridays, 2 sessions, about an hour each.
So each future teacher had their own little tennis team to coach.
Exactly. And they had to make real lesson plans, like real teachers. They had to figure out how to teach all the basics: forehands, backhands, serves, volleys. And they did it by using fun games.
So they weren't just drilling technique. They wanted the kids to have fun. That's a great way to make learning enjoyable.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance, skill development, and making sure they enjoy it. If they're having fun, they'll stay active. And maybe even love sports for life.
That makes sense. So what did the kids think? Did they like learning tennis?
They loved it. We even have some great quotes from letters the kids wrote.
Wait, the kids wrote letters about the program. Tell me more. What did they say?
One boy wrote, "I learned how to backhand, and it was a great program. Short and sweet, but you can tell he was proud."
That's so cool. Learning something new is always a big deal. What else did they hear?
The teachers at the schools were impressed too.
I bet they were. Having that extra help, it's great for the kids. What did the teachers say?
One said the program gave both the kids and the student teachers a chance to learn, and that the kids were always excited to join in. Another one mentioned how inclusive it was. It even reached kids who weren't usually into sports.
That's fantastic. Wins all around. The student teachers got real experience. The kids had fun and learned new skills. And the teachers saw good changes in their students. It shows that the best programs help everyone in the community.
Exactly. And this kind of program could be used in other places, with other sports. It's about using partnerships and programs like Hot Shots to do good. But before we get too far ahead, there's a bit of a sad twist to this story.
Oh no, don't tell me it's a sad ending. What happened?
This was the last year of Best Start, the program that Friday Sports was part of. The university merger and problems with funding made it impossible to keep going.
That's too bad. It had so much potential. It's frustrating when a program that was doing good ends because of money problems. What were those challenges? What stopped it from continuing?
We don't have every detail from this chapter, but it sounds like the merger led to some changes. And funding for community programs like Friday Sports might not have been a top priority anymore.
I get it, but it's still a bummer. It makes you think how many other great programs have ended for the same reason.
It happens a lot. A lot of these programs rely on grants and donations and partnerships. That can change all the time. And when that money goes away, it's hard to keep the program going, even if it's doing good.
It just shows that we need better ways to fund community projects, maybe endowments, or partnerships with local businesses for more long-term support.
Exactly. We need to think differently and creatively. Maybe we can connect these programs with what universities are already teaching so they can use their budgets. Or maybe we can create social enterprises where the program earns money through its work to support itself.
Those are some great ideas. We need to look beyond just the normal ways of funding and find new ways to support the things that make our communities better. So as we think about Friday Sports, what are some of the biggest takeaways for our listeners?
The power of partnerships. That's a big one. This program was successful because the university, Tennis Australia, the schools, and the Leisure Center all work together. It shows what we can do when we share our resources and skills.
Exactly. And it's not just about big organizations. Individuals matter too. Like the program leader. They had the vision and passion to make this happen. It started with one person.
That's true. One person can start a movement. And speaking of action, this program also shows how important it is to take risks and try new things. They could have just kept doing what they did the year before with multiple sports, but they decided to focus on tennis and go with hot shots. And it worked out great.
Sometimes you have to step outside of your comfort zone to get the best results. And even though Friday Sports ended, it doesn't mean the impact is gone.
Exactly. Those pre-service teachers got experience they'll use in their careers. The kids learned to love being active and developed life skills, and the community benefited from a positive and engaging program.
It's like a seed that keeps growing even after the program is over. Who knows? Maybe this deep dive will inspire someone to create something similar in their own town.
I hope so. If you're that person, be creative, be flexible, and don't be afraid to reach out and build connections. You never know what you might achieve.
Well said. All right, that wraps up our deep dive into Friday Sports. It's been interesting to see how powerful community partnerships can be and the importance of play in learning, and also the tough reality of funding challenges.
It's been great talking with you.
And to our listeners, we hope you learned something valuable today. Remember, even small things can make a difference. Get out there and do something good.
I agree. I think this program tackled something really important. Childhood inactivity, getting kids into tennis in a fun way. It helped them like physical activity. And, this wasn't just keeping them busy after school. There's actually a lot of research now about how physical activity helps kids do better in school, helps them socially, and even reduces stress.
That's a really good point. We often think of sports as just being about physical health, but it's clearly linked to their well-being overall for kids and adults. It's inspiring to see how this program went beyond just teaching tennis skills. They were really focused on helping these kids develop in every way.
Exactly. And, a key takeaway for me is the impact on the pre-service teachers. Just think, they weren't just learning to teach tennis. They were learning skills they can use in any teaching situation. They had to learn to make engaging lesson plans, manage a group of energetic kids, adapt to different learning styles, give helpful feedback. These are skills any teacher needs, no matter what subject they teach.
It makes me think about my own time as a student teacher. I didn't have a chance to work with kids like this in such a hands-on way. I can only imagine how much more prepared I would felt going into my first classroom if I'd had this kind of experience.
Exactly. It shows that the best teacher training often happens outside of a traditional classroom. And, another interesting thing is that it wasn't just the pre-service teachers teaching. They were also learning from the kids.
Oh, I like that. What kind of things do you think they learned from the kids?
Well, think about it. Children are amazing at being present and engaged. They love trying new things. They don't get stuck in self-doubt. And they're naturally curious. These are things that can rub off on you. And I'm sure the student teachers felt that energy and enthusiasm.
It's like remembering to be a little more playful and curious ourselves. I can see how that would make them better teachers, helping them create a more positive and fun learning environment.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, being the teacher who knows a lot, but also connecting with students on their level, making learning joyful and interesting.
Earlier, you mentioned they used fun games to teach tennis skills. Tell me more about the games and how they help the kids learn.
The chapter doesn't give us all the details about the lesson plans, but one game they used was called Target Tennis. Imagine this. They set up cones on the court,
Yeah.
and the kids got points for hitting the right target.
Okay, I can already see how much the kids would love that. It's like tennis starts.
Exactly. And it's not just about fun. It cleverly uses key tennis skills, like aiming, controlling your shot, and using the right amount of power.
It's learning disguised as play genius. I bet they had lots of games like that. Any other examples?
Oh, yeah. They definitely used lots of mini matches and drills to help the kids practice hitting back and forth, but they made it more active, like having them run to different parts of the court or play in teams to encourage teamwork and communication.
I love that. It keeps things moving and exciting. What I find really impressive is that those student teachers were basically creating their own curriculum. They weren't just following a set plan. They had to figure out what worked best for their group.
Exactly. And that's so important for any teacher. They had to take those basic tennis skills and figure out how to teach them step by step, how to adjust for different ages and skills, and how to give feedback that was encouraging and helpful.
It was like a real-life teaching masterclass. I bet they learned more on those Fridays than in some of their university classes.
I'm sure they did.
Mm.
And this program wasn't just about the kids and the student teachers. It also had an effect on the schools and the whole community. Remember those teachers who talked about the positive changes they saw in their students?
Yes. The ones who said the kids were more engaged and interested in sports, even the ones who weren't usually athletic. That shows how big of an impact the program had.
Exactly. And think about the message this sends to the community, that we care about physical education, that we want our kids to be healthy, and that we'll work together to help them succeed.
It's a great example of what can happen when a university, a national sports organization, and a community all come together with a shared goal. I'm starting to see why you called this program inspiring.
It really is. And,
Yeah.
you know, as we wrap up this look at Friday sports, it's important to remember that not every program will be this successful. There will always be challenges, setbacks, and sometimes things end that we don't expect.
That's true.
Oh.
But even in those times, there's always something we can learn. What are some of the key things you think our listener can take away from this program, even if they aren't in education or sports?
One of the biggest lessons is the power of working together. This program brought together a university, a national sports organization, local schools, and a leisure center. Just imagine what you could do in your own community if you tapped into those networks and resources.
You're right. We don't have to start from scratch every time. We want to do something new. There are already so many great groups and people doing good work. It's about finding ways to connect, work together, and build on each other's strengths.
Exactly. Another important takeaway is being able to adapt. Remember how the leader had to adjust their plans when some schools dropped out? That kind of flexibility is so important in the real world. Things rarely go as planned. So being able to shift gears and find solutions is crucial.
That's a good lesson for anyone. No matter what you do, life throws curveballs. And being able to adapt is how we grow and succeed.
Absolutely. And finally, I think this program shows us that even small efforts can make a big difference. You don't need to be a huge organization with tons of money to have an impact. Sometimes all it takes is an idea, a willingness to work together, and a passion for making your community better.
Well said. This whole conversation has me thinking about how important play is for learning, not just for kids, but for adults too.
Oh, that's interesting. What do you mean?
Well, we talked about how Friday sports use games to teach tennis, but we can use those same ideas in any learning situation. Imagine using more games activities and hands-on learning in adult education, professional development, even in company training. It could really change things.
I love that. It's about using that natural human desire to learn through play and exploration. And there's a lot of research that backs this up. Studies have shown that using play-based learning actually makes people more engaged, remember more, and even be more creative.
Exactly. It's about moving away from lectures and using more interactive and interesting ways to learn. So for our listener who's been with us this whole time, I have a challenge for you. How can you add a little more playfulness into your life and work?
That's a good challenge. It could be something simple, like trying a new hobby, playing a board game, or even just taking a few minutes each day to do something fun and creative.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe that little bit of playfulness will help you create something amazing, just like the Friday Sports program did. But before we let our listener go off on their play-filled adventures, there's one more important thing about Friday Sports we haven't talked about: the money problems that led to it ending.
Yes, the sad reality of community programs. Let's talk more about that.
It's easy to focus on the good parts of a program, but the truth is money can be a big problem, even for the best ideas. What about Friday Sports? What were their funding challenges?
Well, the chapter doesn't give us all the specifics about their finances, but it does say that the university merger was a big factor in the program ending. Mergers often change things. Priorities shift, and sometimes there are budget cuts. It's possible that community programs like Friday Sports weren't as important after the merger.
That makes sense. But it's still a shame. It makes you wonder how many other good programs have ended because of money issues.
It's a common problem. Many of these programs depend on grants, donations, partnerships, which aren't always reliable and often have conditions. And when the money runs out, it can be tough to keep going, even if the program is doing good things.
It shows that we need to find more stable ways to fund community programs, maybe endowments or long-term partnerships with local businesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to be more creative. Maybe we can find ways to include these programs in what universities already teach so they can use their budgets. Or maybe we can create social enterprises where the program earns money through its own activities.
Those are some great ideas. We can't just rely on the old ways of getting funding. We need to be proactive and come up with new ways to support programs that help our communities. So, as we wrap up our look at Friday Sports, what are the most important things you think our listeners should remember?
The power of collaboration. That's a big one. This program wouldn't have been successful without the partnership between the University, Tennis Australia, the local schools, and the Leisure Center. It proves that amazing things can happen when we combine our resources and expertise.
Absolutely. And it's not just about big organizations. Individuals are important too, like the person who led this program. They had the vision and the motivation. It started with just one passionate person.
True individual action can inspire others to get involved. And talking about action, this program also shows how important it is to be bold, to try something new. They could have stuck with the multiple sports approach from the previous year, but they took a chance on tennis and the Hot Shots program, and it worked out great.
It's a good reminder that stepping outside of our comfort zone can lead to great results. And even though Friday Sports did eventually end, its impact lives on.
Definitely. Those pre-service teachers gained experience they'll use for their whole careers. The kids learned to love being active, and the community as a whole was made better by this positive program.
It's like planting a seed. It keeps growing, even after the program ends. And who knows, maybe someone listening will be inspired to create a similar program in their own community.
I hope so. And if that's you, remember to be creative, be flexible, and don't be afraid to connect with others and build partnerships. You might be surprised by what you can achieve.
Well said. And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into Friday Sports. It's been a fascinating look at community partnerships, the power of play and learning, and the challenges of keeping these programs funded.
It's been great exploring this with you.
To our listeners, thanks for joining us. We hope you learned some valuable things today. Remember, even small actions can have a big impact. Go out there and make a difference.